I'm Lisa Rillo. I think everybody knows me. You met me already. I'm senior director. Thank you. Senior director at Lifewave. I've been patching for 2 years. I do have a story of my own that I'll share with you at some point. But tonight, I really want to let Dr. Dawn talk to you about the science and tech of this amazing patches that we probably, most of us have on, a lot of us. And good job. And he will have time then afterwards for some questions. So if you have questions, just, bring it on, because he's pretty good at this. He is a medical doctor. He's also an ordained pastor. He is married to Susan, his beautiful wife. They have 4 kids. Dr. Dawn has also written 4 or 5 books. 5 books that are on Amazon, amazing books on health and wellness. So he kind of knows his stuff. So I'm going to let you, Dr. Dawn, talk, and I'm going to be quiet.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me, Lisa?
Yes.
Okay, good. It's good to meet everybody, and thank you for tuning in tonight if you're watching or there live. It's just wonderful technology to be here in freezing Michigan. Of course, you're in freezing Pennsylvania. And we're here to talk about these patches. And when I first heard about it, it didn't make sense to me. My wife had a good friend of ours, a couple friend of ours, had great results with lowering blood pressure and getting free from carpal tunnel syndrome. And these were people in the natural alternative world that we knew were very credible. And I'm an MD, although I do natural alternatives. My expertise is in helping people get off of pharmaceuticals when it's possible and prudent to do. And I've been doing this 40 years. And I frankly told Susan, I'm not going to tell people to put a sticker on their neck and it will heal them. I was born at night, but not last night. So I did not believe it. So if you run into skeptical people, be patient, have them look into it. And if they will look, and I recommend you go to drdonmd.com to find out all this information, which is my site, where you'll see the books I've written, and you'll hear from the inventor of this technology. You'll see all the clinical studies, the patent. There's a 20-year global patent that they don't give away with a lot of science. When I looked into it, I was amazed that the studies were actually double-blind and placebo-controlled, and they were independent, not done by Lifewave, the company. Some of them were done at the #2 research, stem cell research facility in the world, University of Ireland. That was impressive to me. These are the people who are the gurus on stem cells. And then finally, some of them were peer reviewed. That means you do your study, you give it to your colleagues, and you say, is my study valid? So after I saw these studies and studied it, I thought, well, Susan's right again. And then my concern was, is it safe? And if you've not seen this patch before, maybe you're watching, and it's about the size of a quarter. It's non-transdermal. You peel the back off, you put it on your body, anywhere on your body, it'll work. It uses your body's heat energy, your 98.6, unless you're hypothyroid, you might be 96.6, but it hits the media in the patch, which is microcrystalline stereoisomer of organic amino acids. And when that happens, there's a light wave that's formed, but it's very specific. It goes into your body. In the case of the X39, which is called that because it was the 39th patch that David Schmidt invented, and this is the one that passed all the clinical studies and worked. And when that hits, that light wave hits in your body, it signals a molecule called GHK copper peptide, which is well researched and well known since the 70s. In fact, Lauren Picard is the doctor who discovered and spent his whole life researching this and its benefits for rejuvenating stem cells, among other things. But what he found was that this would increase your stem cell activity and number. And I knew about stem cells when I heard about this as an MD. I had recommended it to people. But the way I knew to use it was you collected your old worn out stem cells from fatty tissue or bone marrow, and then you concentrated it and you could inject it back into your body mainly it was limited to joints because that's where you could locally use it, and it had some success, but it was natural, and I like that because that's what my expertise is in, using natural alternatives. But it was very expensive, and so that's what I knew about stem cells, and that you lost half of your stem cell activity by the time you're 35. That's significant. By the time you're 65, you've lost 90% of your stem cells. That's why your body doesn't repair as quickly as it was. When you're 10 years old, you're loaded with stem cells. You fall off a bike, you don't break a bone, you don't have chronic low back problems, you don't have the diseases of aging, the chronic diseases that are the killers, really, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, arthritis. When a 10-year-old cuts their skin, 3 days later, you can't even see where the cut was because their stem cell activity is so high. And a stem cell, this is something I want you to remember when you hear me talk here tonight. Number one, a stem cell is a cell that can become anything your body needs. And if you need help in the cardiovascular area, it can become a heart muscle cell or an endothelial cell lining the blood vessels. If you're having trouble with abnormal growth, it can become an immune system cell, including the T4 killer cell that goes around eating abnormal growths. If you're having trouble in your liver, it can become a hepatocyte, a liver cell. Or in the kidneys, a kidney cell, or the skin cell, or a hair follicle cell, whatever you might need. And your body always retains some undifferentiated stem cells, but not as many as you were when you were younger. Well, we can biologically age people now. This is accurate science. Your chronological age is how many candles on your birthday cake. For me, that would be 68. I don't even know if you can buy that many candles, Lisa. Probably a lot of those little boxes. But I am not biologically 68 because I've been practicing what I preach and what my books talk about, the 10 keys, which are natural health modalities, which are extremely important. And I'll give a little commercial on that. Those 10 keys are: learn to relax, get to bed on time, and do your exercise, breathe fresh air when the sun's out there, and eat like this little rind fruits and vegetables, whole grains, white if you choose meat, drink what you're mostly made of, water makes your health complete. Those are 10 keys, and they're foundational, and they're still important. And patches will work even if you're not doing these 10 things, but they'll work better if you do, especially staying hydrated. Patches will work if you're dehydrated, but they work better if you're hydrated. Patches will work if you're not an exerciser, but they work better if you're an exerciser. So, what do people expect when they put this X39 stem cell activating patch on? Well, it takes 3 to 6 weeks for 80% of people to notice something significant. So that's the biggest challenge, keeping people wearing them consistently until they notice something. And I've now patched hundreds of people over the past almost 3 years, and what I hear consistently is better energy levels and sleeping better. And sleeping better is very important when you get into my age bracket because you lose short-term memory as you get in the mature age because your daily memories are stored in the hippocampus of the brain only for 24 hours. Then when you get into deep sleep, REM sleep, rapid eye movement, REM, which is over 90 minutes of continuous sleep, if and only if you get into REM sleep, those daily memories are uploaded into the cerebral cortex into long-term memory. That's why, for example, my mom, who's 89 years old, she can tell you everything that happened in 1953 when she graduated from high school and all the details, but about 10 years ago, she started losing short-term memory because of that process. And then 5 years ago, it got pretty significant. She had to write everything down. We call it pre-senile dementia. And then she started patching about 3 years ago. And nothing happened for 10 months. About 10, 11 months, we noticed a change. And right at about a year, she went back to not having to write everything down. She's back 10 years. She's not forgetting things. So that was good research for me. But it takes 3 to 6 weeks, usually sleeping better, higher energy levels, clearer, more focused thinking, less pain and inflammation, positive skin changes, gastrointestinal benefits, GI tract because there's a big turnover there. It could be any number of things, but it takes 3 to 6 weeks for 80% of people to notice it. That means 10% will do it quicker. That's wonderful. But 10% it can take up to a month for every decade of life. So if I'm 68, I've lived 6 decades, I'm in my 7th, it might take me 7 months to notice something significant. It didn't. In my case, after 5 weeks, I wasn't having to get up and go to the restroom 2 or 3 times a night. That's been a game changer. Even if that's all this patch did for me, I would be wearing it and recommending it. But then I got my best results from months 9 to 12, and I'm not a 90 to 120 years old, but where I experienced a brain balancing of neurotransmitters, I've struggled with clinical depression for 30 years. And for the last 2 years, I did not have that depression. And I'm telling you, that's worth it. This patch is only $3 a day wholesale, less than the price of a cup of coffee. Now, when I start people out, I always pair it with one other patch called Aeon, A-E-O-N. It's an anti-inflammatory patch because inflammation is an enemy of your health, and inflammation causes or promotes every kind of diseases, including the big killers, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, arthritis. But it's extremely important to keep inflammation down when you're waking up stem cells because this is smart technology. This X39 stem cell activating patch goes to work at the most important problem you're having in your body. Well, what is that? Well, you have 100 trillion cells, and at any given time, thousands of them are having errors, literally thousands. You'll never even find out about some of the problems you're having because your body has built-in correction systems, but it's not as efficient as it used to be. So when you wake up stem cells, it goes to the most important thing first. Well, that's where the action is, and where the action is where the inflammation is. So I find if you keep inflammation down with the Aeon patch and pair it with the X39, waking up those stem cells, you get better and quicker results. So the point is, it's going to take 3 to 6 weeks. People need to commit at least 2 months to this. But my favorite testimony, and I have lots of them, profound testimonies, but my favorite is probably Bob Campbell, who's a mail carrier, a friend of mine, carried the mail for 30 years, retired. He's been retired many years. He's 73 when he started patching, but he has chronic knee and foot problems, neuropathy, and he's had 7 operations on his knee, 4 on his feet. When he has a sheet touch his toes at night, it's like sharp pain. He can't put weight on his feet in the morning because of the neuropathy. It was debilitating. Otherwise, he's in pretty good health. He starts patching 3 years ago, and he experiences tremendous energy the first month. He's happy about that. The second month, he sleeps much better and gets off a medicine that he was on for prostate. He couldn't urinate without taking that medicine. He'd been on it 12 years and had tried to get off it several times, couldn't do it, and didn't have to have that medicine. So that was wonderful, but the pain didn't change at all. No change in the 3rd month. In the 4th month, he had some cancerous tumors on his head fall off. He had had them removed before, about 5 years before, but they had grown back before he started patching, and they simply fell off in the 4th month. So he's very, very happy. 5th month, no change in the pain at all, but he had these other benefits, and they continued. Better energy, sleeping better, not having to take the medications. Month 6, no change in the pain. In the middle of the 7th month, he woke up one day and the pain was gone. I can't tell you why it worked that way, other than his body was working on other things. It took that long. And I tell you that because I'd rather under-promise and over-deliver. The patches are working. You may start wearing them and say, well, I don't feel anything. Well, you don't feel your blood pressure and blood sugar changing, although it has since I've been talking to you. You don't feel your hair growing. But it is working. So the patches aren't on trial. They're with clinical studies, over 80 of them, double-blind, placebo-controlled, independent, peer-reviewed, some of them. So they work. So it's safe. I don't even have to ask people if they're taking pharmaceuticals or over-the-counter medicines, vitamins, minerals, herbs, because it's not chemical. It's using your body as a battery, creating a light beam that goes back in you. That's what's doing the work. And you say, well, that sounds, unusual, futuristic, and it is, but it's as ancient as the sun hitting your skin and making vitamin D for strong teeth and bone. Photobiomodulation, photo light, bio, the body, modulation, changing the body with light. This is just wearable light therapy. So I would highly recommend that you get patching as soon as possible. Start with the X39 and Eon. There are other patches like supporting liver function, the detox, glutathione patch, extra support for brain and heart with carnosine. We have a pain relieving patch system that doesn't necessarily correct the cause of the problem like the other patches do, but interrupt the pain signaling. That's very powerful, but it works immediately. So that's not a 3 to 6 weeks experience. When you get those patches on, they work. And you don't have the GI bleeding or the liver and kidney problems with even aspirin, ibuprofen, Tylenol. There's a way to take pain away non-chemically with this wearable light therapy. So I've shared a lot of information with you, Lisa. I know sometimes listening to me talk is like trying to get a drink out of a fire hose.
I
If you
love
have
to
questions,
listen to
I'm
you
happy to
talk.
answer.
We're muted. Oh, wait a minute. We love to listen to you talk, absolutely.
Go ahead and say that again.
I said, we love to listen to you talk.
Oh, thank you. Anybody have a question, or is there something I forgot that you want me to cover?
Anybody, the new people here have questions?
Now's a good time about anything. If you have an issue that you're thinking about, maybe for somebody else,
Oh, yeah.
what would I recommend? Now's the time to ask.
And, Lynn has a question here about your mom. She was listening to you yesterday at noon, and we didn't get the recording.
Yes. So
Okay.
my mother's 92, and she still lives by herself and drives wherever she wants. But we're noticing she's getting confused a little bit. So I was wondering what patches you used on your mother.
Yes, I did just the 2 patches, X39 and Eon, for a whole year though. It took about 11 or 12 months, and it was dramatic when it happened. It wasn't gradual. Nothing happened for 11 months, 10 or 11 months, and we thought, well, maybe it's not gonna help. And then suddenly, she went right back to the way she was. Now, knowing what I know now, because I didn't know that when I started, that was 3 years ago when I started patching, I would have also added the carnosine patch to her because of the extra support for brain or heart. And knowing what I know now, I would have also added the glutathione patch because as we get older, we accumulate more toxins and we need more liver support to detoxify our body. So to me, it's an economic decision. Everybody needs the X39, $3 a day. The other supportive patches are 2 more. The other one, of course, Eon for inflammation, which we used to call the happy patch. It was the #1 seller before the X39 because it balances the healing, rest and restoration part of the automatic nervous system, parasympathetic. And so those 2, that's $5 a day. In the case of the presenile dementia, Alzheimer's, just getting older and losing short-term memory, I don't know, I probably would add the glutathione next because there can be a toxic component. That's another $2, that's $7 a day. But then if you can afford it, certainly go with the carnosine as well. That's $9 a day investment. You know, your body is your earth suit. You get to stay here as long as it lasts. When it wears out, you're out of here. You don't cease to exist, but you get to stay here and live longer and stronger as long as you take care of it. That's why those 10 keys are so important. And these patches are not a substitute for those things. They're another tool in your tool belt that I'd recommend everybody gets using. I start people with 2, the dynamic duo, X39 Eon, at least 2 months. Then, if I need to add other patches like the glutathione for liver support and detox, which probably is necessary in everybody over 35 years old, and you can start it right at the beginning. Things will happen quicker, but it's another $2. And then carnosine if they have heart or cardiovascular extra support, and actually carnosine supports all organ systems. Those are important. I mean, there's also an SP6 patch, which is specific for endocrine glands. Endocrine glands are thyroid for how quickly you metabolize your weight or metabolism, burning calories if you need help in that area. Adrenal glands for stress, who doesn't have that? Pancreas for not only making food enzymes to digest your food, but also the islets of Langerhans in the pancreas make insulin to help balance blood sugar. And ovaries and testes are endocrine glands. The pituitary is an endocrine gland, which makes melatonin for sleeping and for fortifying the immune system. So we have several patches. The difference is what wavelength of light they make, but I start with the dynamic duo, X39 and Eon, and then we can add patches as we go. So it's a $5 investment, but you've got to give it a couple months for 80% of the people to notice something. Even if you don't, it's working, like in my friend Bob Campbell. So that's a long answer for a short question. Susan, just answer the question and be done. But I like to share what I know. So, any other questions?
Ann has a question.
I have two questions for you. First, macular degeneration. My mom has that, and so does my cousin. Apparently, it's hereditary.
I can't really hear you, Ann. Can
Okay.
you speak up?
Yes, macular degeneration. The eye issue. Can you hear me?
Eyes are an extension of your brain. So carnosine is the patch I'm going to add, but I'm still starting with X39 and Eon. So I'd say X39, Eon, carnosine.
Okay, all right. And then the other, I have one other one.
Yeah, go.
Someone asked,
You might have to walk.
should I go closer?
I
Yeah.
would. Then he can hear you.
Okay. It's PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Polycystic ovarian syndrome, very, very familiar with it. That is a hormonal imbalance. It's ovarian, so I would add the SP6 to the X39 Eon. Dynamic duo X39 and Eon add SP6, the endocrine gland support. And it wouldn't hurt to have glutathione on board there, because any kind of disease can have a toxic component. I'd recommend everybody use glutathione at least for 3 to 6 months, and then maybe just start doing it every other day. But personally, I use it every day.
Thank you.
Dr. Don, hi. So in the case of your mother, you had her on, you have her on X39 and Eon, and with the Eon, was that daytime or nighttime?
I had those both during the day, and the reason how I make that decision, I just put people on always X39 is daytime only, because it's going to give you energy, and you don't want energy when you're trying to sleep. Eon can be worn day or night, and because it's a parasympathetic balancer, it balances anxiety. I just ask people if they have anxiety or stress, when is it worse, at night or during the day? And that's when I wear that patch. So you either wear them together, or you wear, when you take one off, you put the other one on. And I recommend people start your X39 patch when you brush your teeth in the morning. Set an alarm for 12 hours. You'll forget sometimes, I promise you. I did last week. And it's not dangerous to leave it on for longer than 12 hours, but you don't want your body getting used to that. So you get 100% benefit and a better value when you wear it 12 hours on, 12 hours off.
And then I just wanna, add another question there. With the carnosine, if you add that to the X39 and Eon, when would you have your mom wear the carnosine? And where?
Where or when?
Both.
When?
When and both?
Carnosine can be worn day or night, so I like to keep things simple. So for her, everything was going on when she brushed her teeth in the morning. We put X39, Eon, and carnosine on, and that's a fine way to use them off. And then you take them off at night. The patch I would use at night though, if you're gonna use it, and I haven't mentioned this yet, and I might be doing a patching seminar here and going above and beyond what I probably should, because the mind can only absorb what the seat can endure. Aloe Vera is worn at night. That is our skin patch, but it does so much more. It's fortification for the immune system, it's for longevity, it supports so many organ systems, including the brain, to live longer and stronger, and for sure skin. And skin, by the way, goes around your mouth and inside your mouth and down your stomach, and GI benefits too. I love that aloe vera patch, but let's keep it simple. The dynamic duo, where everybody needs to start for at least 2 months, X39 and Eon. No problem for adding all the rest of those patches right from the beginning. It's basically a financial consideration. That's how I look at it. And I'll tell you, when I first started doing this, I'd have people in my age group that say, hey, I'm on a fixed income, and it's a financial consideration if I want to do it. And I accept that, and I understand that. However, now I will say to them, because they're coming to me for advice, what you need to do for the next 60 days is skip 1 or 2 meals a day. I don't care how skinny you are, you won't die. It's called fasting. It's also a healing modality. The patches will work better when you take in less calories, and that will be free for your patches. I don't think you can save $5 a day, but with skipping 2 meals every day, and it's healthy for you to do. Do it for 2 months. Even if you have to put it on a credit card, and I hate credit card. I hate debt. I don't like it. I've been in debt and I've been out of debt, and out of debt's better. You can help a lot more people when you're out of debt. But that's how powerful this modality is. At least X39 and Eon, and the older you are, the more important it is to get started and stay consistent.
Okay. Couple more questions?
Oh, go ahead, she can go. Good.
Has, Dr. Don, has any of your patches helped someone with tinnitus?
Help with what?
Tinnitus. They, in the
Oh,
ear?
yes, that's inflammation, so that's going to be covered by the Eon. There's an inflammatory component to it. You mean ringing in the ears?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. There's an inflammatory component there, so you make sure you're on the Eon. But X39, here's the thing about X39. We don't know what causes ringing in the ears. It could be mechanical, one of the bones. It could be neurogenic, from a nerve impairment. It could be physical, not enough circulation, nutrients to the situation. It could be toxic, too many toxins, but it doesn't matter. X39 can become a stem cell that can become anything. So X39 and Eon for sure. And then I would probably add glutathione, because it's likely there is a toxic component like there is in any kind of disease. So those 3.
You guys snuck in. Okay, we got another one back here.
Hello, Dr. Don. Now, my question is about aggressiveness. How aggressive can I be as a starter? I just started about 4 weeks ago, on X39 and Eon. And how aggressive can I be? Because I expect to be diagnosed with cancer soon. And I wonder how aggressive I can be and still be not impairing or injuring myself. Or impairing,
well,
impairing
there's no
anything else.
danger here in overdoing it. I mean, you could literally wear 2 or 3 X39 and 2 or 3 Eons every day and 2 or 3 glutathiones without danger. However, I do not recommend that, because, and David Schmidt, I've asked him this exact question. It's a great question. You want to get it done as quickly as you can, and obviously if you're facing something like that, money's no object. If you wear an X39, you can put 2 of them on, and they'll work anywhere on your body. I say patch the problem if you have a location, but it doesn't matter the location. But when you add the second patch, it might only add a 10 or at most 20% benefit. The third patch only adds about 2 to 5%. It's not cost effective. In other words, if I started with X39, I would go to an Eon next, and I would go to glutathione next for abnormal growths, like you have mentioned there. That would be for sure where I would have those 3 patches for sure, and that's what I would do. That's a $7 a day commitment. You don't need to do more than that. You don't need to be more aggressive than that.
Thank you.
And Anna had a question.
My husband has Crohn's disease. What would you recommend for patching for Crohn's?
Yes, well, like anything, you think in terms of what's the cause, because we can cover symptoms, and as with pharmaceuticals, and that's the problem with pharmaceuticals, they're so effective at covering symptoms. You say, well, what's wrong with that? nothing. I'd rather have someone not have symptoms than have symptoms, but pharmaceuticals usually cover the symptoms and neglect the cause, and much of the time make the cause of the problem worse. Okay, you're talking about Crohn's. Crohn's is inflammatory, so we're talking about X39 and Eon dynamic duo for sure. But there's always a toxic component, and I want to make sure the toxins are out, so I'm going to add glutathione to that. But once again, you need to do the other things. Crohn's is aggravated by certain foods, so you need to avoid the offending things, and people with Crohn's know what those are in many cases. And stress is a component. That's why my 10 keys, learn to relax, that's number one. And there is a component. Flare-ups happen in Crohn's when people get stressed. Well, why? Because the immune system's not keeping up, inflammation goes up, and then get to bed on time, getting enough rest, exercise, moderate amount of moving the body, moving immune fluid. So we need to balance the immune system. I personally use a combination of nutrients called quercetin, bromelain, and vitamin C, which are powerful immune balancers. You can get them together at the health food store, and that's another way to approach this. Drinking enough water, all the 10 keys. You should get my book, read it. In the back of my book, there's 25 common ailments and the natural alternatives for them. And inflammatory disease is one of those things. So there are things you can do. People don't know there are natural alternatives, and there are in almost every case. Now, if you break your leg or have a heart attack, don't come to me for natural alternatives. Get to the emergency room, and thank God for the intensive care ward if you have to be there. But I do want to give you, Lisa, and all of your friends there and everybody listening online, the best medical advice I can give as being an MD for 40 years, teaching people how to get and stay healthy naturally, truly a student of healthcare. I will say this, stay away from doctors and hospitals as much as you can. If you need to go to one or be in the hospital, get in, get out as quickly as you can, and then find the natural alternatives. If your physician won't help you do that, you need to find a new physician. There are naturopaths, there are chiropractors, there are DOs, and MDs like myself who have an open mind and can find other ways to skin the cat. There are thousands of MD physicians like myself using this modality worldwide. We're in over 80 countries. There's thousands of MDs, DOs, chiropractors, massage therapists, naturopaths, which is what I really do. I'm an MD who does naturopathic medicine. I don't use any pharmaceuticals. I'm not against them, but I farm that out if it needs to be done, which is very rare. About 90% of the time you can do it naturally. So these patches aren't on trial. They work, but you still have, your health is your choice, and your health is simple, but you've got to choose a lifestyle that detoxifies your body, that balances your immune system. There are specific ways to do that. It's all in my book, and I'm not trying to sell books. I'm trying to tell you how to get and stay healthy. If you know somebody's sick, have them read my book. Get them patching yesterday, at least the dynamic duo, X39 and Eon. This is clinically studied. It's rock solid science. It's safe, it's effective, and it's certainly affordable. If these two patches, the dynamic duo, cost $100 a day, I would still say everyone should find a way to get them for 2 months, because 80% of people will have a significant change. I mean, I want to die with my boots on, not a diaper on. And I'm going to do that, and I'm going to live long and strong, and I can help you do it as well. So thank you, Lisa, for having me, and I'm available if you didn't get your questions answered, or you know people that are sick that need to hear about this. We have videos. Send them to dr.md.com, and we also do Zooms and private consultations. I do them for free. You can set them up, and Lisa knows how to get in touch with me. So most important thing is get patching, start with the dynamic duo, and I'm happy to be here to support you in any way I can. And it's nice to be in Philadelphia while I'm in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Well, yeah, okay, wait, you're not in Philadelphia, you are in Harrisburg.
Oh, excuse me. Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, that's right.
Mechanicsburg close to Harrisburg?
Yes.
Yes.
And listen, Listen, we're gonna have you,
Wherever I am, I don't know where I am.
we're gonna have you out here in person soon, so thank you so
Yes, I'm
much.
looking forward to that. I'm excited to come there with you and meet everybody in person. But meanwhile, we can do it on phone calls. We can do it on Zooms. I will help you. I'm available. This is what I'm doing. I was trying to retire, as you know, Lisa, when I found these patches, and I've never been busier, but I love it. It's my career call. It's what Susan and I are doing full time. Other than she has her radio show. In fact, she's on the radio right now. I'm in her office. That's why I've got this background with my kids here. I'm in her radio office, and she's on the air right now. So
It's your beautiful
nice to be with you.
family.
I'm looking forward to being there in person, and great to see you again, Lisa. And you know how to get back to me if people have questions or other support that they need. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Okay. He is so knowledgeable and he is so serious about wanting to help you. Like, I don't know how many people Ann has gotten on the phone with him for free 30-minute consults. I have done the same, I think pretty much any of us in here. So if you do have extra questions, he's easy to reach. Just get a hold of me. You know, if I invited you or whoever invited you tonight, get a hold of that person and they can help you get in touch with him if you want a free session. I was gonna do like a little bit about the history of the company, but I wanna keep on time because Members First is so awesome to let us be here, but they have to stay. And so I promised him we'd be out here at 7 o'clock. And Greg has an amazing presentation that he wants to share with you. So just really quickly, the company has been around for 20 years. The inventor, his name is David Schmidt. His very first patches that he invented was before he created the company. Before he did that, he was working with the government, with a government contract, and he created the energy enhancers, just this one. And that was before Lifewave came around. And it went really, really well for the government because they wanted the Navy SEALs to have something to keep them awake, keep them energetic, without them having to be on amphetamines and caffeine. Worked until 9/11. 9/11 came, the funding was cut. So then he started researching and creating, he's like, if I can stimulate energy with light, what else can I do? So he came up with all the other patches that you heard Dr. John talk about. The company really, though, he knew stem cells were the wave of the future. And that was gonna be a very important healing modality for us. It took him 10 years to create the X39. That came out the end of 2019, and that's really what's catapulted the company in that time. So it's a 20-year-old company, but really, and the X39 has got a 20-year patent on it, so we have 5 more years in that patent, so there's nothing else out there like it. So that's just a little bit about the history. I really want to turn it over to Greg Pituch, who is going to tell you about his results with the patches and how he and his wife, some of the technology, I don't even understand it, so I'm anxious to listen to it. This will be my second time listening to it. I understand what happened to them, but I don't really understand the whole technology behind the BioWell product. So I'm gonna turn it over to Greg.
Hi, my name is Greg Pituch. I'm definitely happy to be here to talk about the BioWell system and how the BioWell system can show through your energy field, like the way that Lifewave actually impacts your body. I mean, it's really quite amazing. I will say, Lisa gave Amy, my wife, the BioWell is Amy's baby. It's like, I'm speaking about it, but this is really, like last time I said, I know enough to be dangerous about the BioWell, but she really knows deep dive into it. So if you ever have any like super duper technical questions, by all means, you know, you can contact her. Her business cards and brochures are actually over there at the welcome table if you ever want to, you know, contact her about any of this stuff. But I definitely will say to take off your patches at the correct time, because I did put on the energy enhancers yesterday, and I mean, it made me feel like, you know, a kid again. But then it was like 1 o'clock at night, and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't go to sleep. And then I scratched the back of my neck, and I realized I had my X39 on. So I was just pulling patches like all the way up my body. I had my energy enhancers on, and then once I actually removed those in about a half hour, I was able to settle down and actually like calm down and go
But
to
they
sleep,
don't
so.
make you jittery. I'm on the bottom of my feet right now. They
No.
don't make you jittery, they just give you sustained energy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
last night when I got home from work, I changed into my snow clothes and my boots, and I was running up and down my sled riding hill with my one son, and we were wrestling and having a great old time, and it was, you know, we were on top of the world. But anyways, so biowell. All right, so a little bit about me. I am a father, a teacher. I am a nutrition coach. I like to write. I like to speak, you know, especially about the biowell and the Lifewave. I'm an ultra runner as well. I think that's what got me into the Lifewave system. I was running races just to make a long story short, and I really wasn't quite finishing the races that I wanted to finish. And whenever I would finish races, I was more like Frankensteining to the finish line. Like my knees were tight and inflamed and everything, and I was just always wondering, what is going on? You know, what's happening? And I got to that point that everybody gets to kind of take that next step, you know, in their journey. So there's always like a breaking point, and I finally reached my breaking point to try to figure out, you know, what's next, what do I need to do more? And that's when actually I, you know, contacted a running coach and a nutrition coach, for myself. And then I was able to finish the races, you know, like for instance, I finished on my 100 miler, like total pain free, no inflammation on my knees. I was playing soccer with my U13 team, you know, that I coached, you know, 2 days afterwards. I mean, my legs were a little sore from the mileage, but I mean, everything was fine and great. And then I just, with the arthritis in my knee, like I just started getting the pains back again. And then Amy's cousin, you know, Chris and Tegan, which are in the back, you know, they talked to us about Lifewave, just, you know, visiting us. And I was like, you know, Lifewave, okay, you know, it sounds great, like patches. You know, you are skeptical because you're like, what can they do? You know, you really are. And I looked into it and we researched it. And the more that I tried to disprove it, like the patches just proved themselves, I found. So then we tried it and it's been absolutely wonderful. Like my knees can fully bend. I'm really beginning to run more miles now, which is really nice. So.
And how long have you been on now? I don't remember. 3, 4 months, maybe?
4 maybe?
4, yeah.
4 or 5
Yeah,
months,
okay.
yeah, something like that.
Yep.
So they've really begun to help me. Now, it hasn't been to the point where I can run, you know, my full ultras yet, but I used to not be able to run a quarter of a mile. That's how far back I kind of got with my knee inflammation and stuff, even using my nutrition and everything that I was using before. And now I can run much more, and I'm cycling now and doing other things to help myself out. So I definitely see, like in my life, I had like a new breaking point, right? Like a new stage of my life where I needed to go that extra bit. And Lifewave is definitely, you know, doing that for me. So definitely the people that you talk to and run into, I feel like when they're on their journeys in life and when they're doing their things, it's like everybody has to get to that point where they want to make a change. Like you can tell them till you're blue in the face about doing things, but until they're ready for it, you just have to let people like kind of, you know, be on their journeys and find things out. And sometimes the more you push, the more that they, you know, the more that they repel. So just allow, you know, this to happen, and hopefully it'll happen. You know, they'll get to that point where they want something more, right? And then they'll get there. So it's been a beautiful thing for us. But let me see here. So biowell is this system that was created using Kirlian photography, and like there's like a gas discharge system where it's a small white box, and you put your fingers in, and through your whole body you have your meridian systems, and they all come together in your fingertips. So basically what happens is you put, you know, all 10 fingers into this machine onto like a little glass plate, and it sends a small little discharge of electricity through your body that you can't feel, and just in an instant, and it releases photons in your body through those meridian systems, and then it captures that and it reads it. So that's basically what the biowell system does. So you can read the energy that's, you know, all in your energetic field, going to your organ systems, you know, going to your nervous centers. So this captures all of that. So the Lifewave and how it increases your energy and how it affects your energy systems now can be seen through this biowell system, and it's really neat how everything works. So this was, Amy and I, since we have this technology at our hands, we're always guinea pigging each other. So this was after 1 month. This is kind of the results that you'll see. So we both had increased energy to our nervous systems. We had higher overall energy to all the meridians of the body, left, right, and center. Our stress decreased, and I definitely feel that. Energy increased, I felt that right away. Our organ disbalances decreased for sure. And our body's battery went up overall from 21% to 86%. So like, and I'll get to that here. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. So if you take a look at this, this is my energetic body. This is like the energy that's kind of like, you know, flowing around me. And looking at these scans, you'll notice there are some differences. Now the instances where you see like the heavy red, those are like blocks in my system. And Lifewave isn't always going to remove all of the blocks in your system, because you have blocks for all these various different reasons, right? You have blocks from childhood trauma, or blocks from maybe a relationship that you're in, or blocks from the food that you eat. So, you know, you're gonna see differences, but you might not see differences all the time. But if you, looking at both of these, like a healthy energy system has like this nice blue ring around yourself, and the spikies are actually really, really good. So you want spikies that are together, that don't go like too high or don't break into that blue system. And looking at both of these systems, here I was like kind of maintaining a 39 joules of energy each time I would take my scans, and I jumped up to 59 after the first month of using you know, the patches, which was really, really good.
It is so cool. His
Yeah.
wife texted me, I was in Florida, and I didn't really understand what she was saying, but she was like, look at this, look at this. I was like, oh my gosh, it's so
Yeah.
exciting.
Now I have multiple of these. This is like your energy systems, your chakra systems, whatever you want to call it. Basically, it's where photons go into your system, and these are your energy systems, and then they radiate out to the different parts of your body. And after a month of using X39 and an Eon, the important thing is you can see the size of the joules going into my energy systems compared to what it was beforehand. So these were all in like the, I don't know, like maybe 1 to 2, 2.5 range. You know, I was jumping up to the 4 to 6 joule range, which in energy system wise, like that's exactly where you want to be. Like that's an optimal level for your energy systems to work correctly. So that's what that shows. And then this just kind of shows the same thing. So after a month, this is like my left, front, and right energy systems all really went up high, as you could see. And you know, the alignment was the same. But the main focus is how much energy overall I had using the patches on a day-to-day basis in my entire energetic body, which gave me less stress and it gave me more energy throughout the day, and it just made me feel more like cheery. And like, as my mom said, you know, my mom's been taking them now, and she's in her 70s, and she's always happy, and I was always happy too. But you know, the one day she came to me and she said, you know, Gregory, she goes, I just really feel like myself again. And I was like, yeah, like, and that was so powerful to me, because it just does make you feel like how you perhaps used to feel before you had the aches and the pains and the inflammation and the whatever else, you know, whatever other stressors that are kind of dragging you down a little bit. And this kind of just helps to heal you and just make you feel like yourself again. And that was just such a great way of saying that. And I was just so happy for her. This also, there's all these graphs and charts and stuff like that, but this also shows how my stress level went down, my energy went up, my organs, you know, disbalanced, you know, went down dramatically as well. So, you know, this is all ways of the biowell showing what the Lifewave patches were doing, you know, for our bodies. And this was after like a month, you know, basically. So there was the day when I was kind of feeling off and I was feeling grumpy and I was just feeling like whatever, and I just, you know, I just felt, I don't know, down in the dumps sort of. And then I realized I didn't have anything on. So then, you know, Ian was like, well, let's scan you. So I scanned myself. And then about 6 hours that same day I scanned myself. So that's what these results were showing. And you'll notice again, greater alignment, with my energy centers. My energy fields were more coherent. I have increased energy. Even being later in the day, you would think my energy systems would go down. Well, they were still going up just because of, and this isn't like energy as in, like what Lisa said, you're not jittery and fidgety and just like you having like this excess energy. It's just, you just feel better and you just feel just energized to do things like, you know, you can still do work around the house, or you can still play with the kids, and you can just still do stuff. But when it's time to relax and to rest, you can do that as well. It's not like this overactive type of energy. And my energy systems did go from 33 to 64%, which I'll explain that to you here in a second. So here again, you know, it's not where they're located so much right now, is we're more focused on, you know, the size of the energy systems and the energy going to each, you know, from 4 to 6 and from 4 to 6 again, which was, you know, super great. If you notice throughout the day, my left, front, and right energy systems all, you know, increased as well, you know, which is, you know, what we were really looking for.
And the left and the right is literally the left and the right of your body when you put your fingers in.
Yeah, because your energy system is like a dome around you. So you're looking at like the left center of the pie, the front center, you know, the front of the pie, and then like the right of the pie. Yeah, so think of it like that. And then this kind of showed, this is really interesting because this is actually a scan of one of my fingers. And that day when I scanned my fingers, and these lines represent the meridian systems coming into it, you notice how splotchy it is and just how just disconnected it is, and the energy just wasn't very coherent at all. And then, you know, 6 hours later, you know, when you look at the same finger, you know, just, you know, the same way I'm putting it in each time, just how the blue energy field looked, and just how coherent the energy is now, and the blockages and the scatteredness of the energy going through to these meridians, you know, just were totally wiped away. Like everything was just so much better. So that really, you know, that also shows how when the energy going to and from your systems are more coherent and more organized, that just really makes you feel like just like a newer you, like a more energized you, because the energy is actually going to where it needs to go. It's not being blocked and it's not being disorganized, you know, going to those systems. And I know I'm talking fast, but some of you want to go to the game. So now this is just January 7th here. So this just happened on January 7th. So again, I forgot to take my patches off until late that night. So I waited to take them, to put them on later in the day because it was a snow day, so we were home. So I was able just to do that. And you'll see where my organ systems disbalance went from, I had 11 systems, like really, really imbalanced. I had 11 of them, and it went down to 4. My energy centers again increased greatly on an average of 3.8 to 5.4. I'm going to actually show you the graph that shows our energy reserves. It's kind of like our cell phone battery of our body, if you will, and I'll explain that. How it went from 16 to 70, which was an amazing jump. Aim couldn't believe it. And then the energy in all of my systems increased, including my alignment. So, you know, we'll take a look at that. And I just want to make sure that I'm not, because of my speed, I'm not actually skipping anything. So this shows like how Dr. Don was talking about your parasympathetic and your sympathetic systems, right? The blue represents your parasympathetic system, which is, and I always get these mixed up, that's your rest and digest, right, systems, you know? And then your green represents your sympathetic systems, which is your fight or flight. And basically what this shows is an imbalance of energy going to one side of those systems, okay? So for instance, we'll use 16. So in my ears, nose, and maxillary sinus kind of system, you see where my blue, which is my parasympathetic system, like side of that bodily system, was way, 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 way higher. So basically what that means is if you have an overabundance of energy to your parasympathetic system, you may feel lethargic or you may feel like run down, and just lazy, and just sluggish, and just,
Which is why we
Not
say
full of energy.
eon typically at night, typically.
yeah, because that's your rest and digest. So you want to have that, but you don't want to have a lot of your body's energy going into that, because that's like the negative outcome of having imbalanced energy to that system. On the flip side, if you have too much energy going to the sympathetic system, right, which is your fight or flight system, then you might feel stressed, you might feel jittery, you might feel on edge, you might feel aggravated, you might feel, those types of feelings, with that sort of system. So that's where I had, I think I said, how many did I say, 11, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, like 10 or 11 right here that were majorly imbalanced. And then after, wearing it for a few hours, it only went down to 4. And if you notice as well, all of the energy lines increased, which was really good because my energy did become more coherent, and my energy did become more balanced, and there was more energy going into my systems. So yeah, there were some in disbalance, but I honestly never have been all of these systems in balance, because maybe I ate something, maybe one of my children were yelling at something or somebody, and that can kind of throw your system off, or maybe you're digesting something at that time that you weren't before. You know what I mean? There's just all these little things that can kind of, that can make these results, not always be totally in balance. But what you're going for is that most of your systems are in balance, and the things that are in balance should be closer together. Now, like for instance, number 6, the pituitary gland, that guy is still way out of balance, but who knows what was going on there that day. So if it was consistently like that, then there'd be an issue, right? But sometimes like the one and done, you don't get too worried about. So this again showed my energy centers increasing 3.9 to 5.6, 3.8 to 5.7, and it's just the size of the sphere represents the amount of energy going into that system to be able to radiate out and to make that system work more, more efficiently and just better. And so, you can see that all of the spheres on the after side is definitely much more than on the before side. When I was talking about the battery, so this is our energy reserve. So this shows our energy reserve. When you're in the red or the orange, it's super low. When you're in the green, that's optimal. And when you start to go out into the yellows, that means you have like too much energy going into those systems. So basically the orange, if you see that orange line, before I took the Lifewave patches that day, my energy reserve is at a 16%. So that's like my cell phone battery basically. And if you think of your organ systems as apps that like your cell phone runs. So as we know, the more your battery decreases on like your cell phone, if you're running a lot of apps, like your energy gets sapped out more, they get laggy, they don't work as well. Just there's not enough energy going to them to actually run them correctly. So you can see that my systems just were not performing at an optimal level because all of my energy was very, very low. And I basically had 16% of my battery left. And it's not like if we get it 0, we're just gonna like zonk out and pass out on the ground and we're just lying there face down, It doesn't mean that, but it just means then it's just that much harder for your body's, body systems to work efficiently in the way that they should, right? But then after the Lifewave, that's that dark line. You can see how they all now increased, to that green optimal level. There are some areas where I had some excessive energy, and who knows, like that last graph showed the pituitary, and this one is too, so there's a lot of correlation to all that. But then my energy reserve spiked up to 70%. So now it's like I just plugged myself in using that Lifewave patch, and my energy systems, because they were more coherent and there was more energy flowing to my systems, that's where now I have more energy to actually run all my systems correctly. So, if I was, let's say if I had brain fog, that probably went away because my systems were working better, my digestive systems were working better, just everything, all of these different systems that are listed here that I'm not gonna go through, would just be working at an optimal level compared to what they were. And I had plenty of energy, inside of me. So, and that's later in the day again, that's what's important. Like this is now in the evening time after taking care of the kids and doing who knows what around the house, right? So you would think as the day progresses, this would be going down, but instead, the difference between not having the Lifewave patch and the Lifewave patch, is actually improving and it went up. And this again shows, those centers and those systems that I showed previously, how it all went up, as well. What's really interesting and what Amy and I were talking about the other day were, there's six levels of illness. The first two are like your mental state. The second two, and I have them written down because I wasn't going to remember them. The third and the fourth levels are metabolic imbalance, and the fourth is accumulation of toxins, which is your energy body system. And then you have a physical body system at 5 and 6, which is symptoms and terminal stages. So those are like the stages of illness. So a lot of your illnesses, about 80% of basically what happens to us, it's like a mental type of block type system, because what happens is when you have mental blocks, past traumas, your body actually sends incorrect healing signals to your bodily systems that need help, and that's why it doesn't actually, get better a lot of the time. It's, it just, your brain having those, mental blocks and just being down like that, just can't send the right type of signals to the parts of your body that need actually correct symbols, or signals, I should say. When you go to the doctor, they focus on levels 5 and 6, which is your symptoms and your terminal stages. They never actually talk about your energetic systems, which the Lifewave patches, as you can see, really, really change. As your energetic systems change, and you start to feel that more coherent energy inside of you, and it makes you feel better. What happens to your mental state? It improves, and it starts to remove those blocks that you had. The more mental blocks that you remove, the better the signals are flowing to the bodily systems that need those signals to improve, and then that improves. And then as you feel better there, your mental state improves, your energies, your energy centers improve. So it's like a 1-2 punch for the things that are actually kind of like bringing you down and hurting you, because this shows, and that's what was really cool, is like, we're like, yeah, like this shows, like the bio shows how the Lifewave patches are affecting your energy centers, and the energy centers is what it takes to really truly heal, your bodies. Doctors, like Dr. Don said, right? Like doctors focus on 5 and 6. They focus on symptoms, and then when it becomes chronic, it's that terminal stage. But with the Lifewave patches, yeah, I mean, you get physically healed as well, but it really does work on those energy systems before things can get to the 5 and 6 stage. And we thought that was really, really cool. We thought that was really great.
Greg, can you repeat those 6 levels again?
Yeah, the first two, we forgot what they were called, but the first 2 levels deal with your mindset. And I apologize for not knowing the exact 2. The third, and I'll wait for you, you tell me when you're ready. The third one is called metabolic imbalance. The fourth is called like an accumulation of toxins, or like toxin accumulation. And then 5 is symptoms. So those are like the physical symptoms, right, that you feel. And then 6 would be like the terminal stage, which is where it becomes like a seriously chronic problem, that you have inside of you.
Thank you.
So yeah, no problem, sure. So we thought that was really neat.
It is super
to
cool.
see. So
I learned so much.
I may not be able to answer your questions, but does anybody have a question?
How do you get tested? How do you?
Well, my wife is like a biowell, I forget her fancy title, but she's a biowell practitioner. Like she's gone to like Florida for many trainings. She's worked with Dr. Karakov and some of the people, like really the higher ups. Like he's the one that invented biowell. I actually have her business cards and brochures over there on that welcome table. and you could contact her with any questions, or email her, go to her website. I do have my website and my wife's website as well. So, if you'd want to you could put the QR codes in your phones, or like I said, if you want to contact her, by all means, just take a business card or a brochure. And her wealth of knowledge is immense
It is.
compared to mine.
I do want to tell you this, and this is, I'm okay to say this, RFK Jr. is patching. So that's really cool, if you know all about that. And since he is going to be leading our, Make America Healthy Again. So going forward, I believe that you are gonna hear more and more about Lifewave. And there is some amazing things that are coming out. We're actually gonna learn about it on the 25th of this month. There's some amazing things coming out with the technology, with water technology, not a filtration system, totally different. You're gonna be hearing more and more about that coming up in the future too, very near.
Oh, yeah.
That's gonna be awesome.
So,
If you have questions, reach out to the person that invited you. We have, lots of information there. If you want to know about pricing, things like that, we can tell you about that. So just reach out to us.